So it's 5:11 here. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us to today's webinar. So I think we can just start and then people will join progressively. So today we are glad to have Dr. Priscilla Coulibaly-Mante as a speaker. So Professor Priscilla is an associate professor of pharmacology at Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana. She is specializing in neuropharmacology with a focus on epilepsy and depression. She is also a faculty member since 2013. She investigates traditional medicinal plants for novel therapeutic discovery and studies drug-resistant epilepsy through brain-gut axis research using molecular techniques like PCR and in NMR-based metabolomics. She holds a PhD in pharmacology and a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree from the same university she is working in. She complemented by certification in intellectual property management, patent law, and mental health as a registered pharmacist with over 14 years of experience. Prof. Mante also leads healthcare supply chain innovation at the Center of Applied Research and Innovation in Supply Chain Africa, where she leads research on medication access, counterfeit detection, and pharmaceutical supply chain efficiency, and developing the Medicine Access Index for Ghana. Her leadership extends globally. She has served as co-chair of the Global Youth Young Academy from 2022 to 2024, member of the UNESCO Global Advisory Committee for Women in Science, expert advisor on the United Nations Secretary General's Artificial Intelligence Advisory Body, and a member of the Springer Nature Africa Advisory Council. Professor Mante's research excellence has earned her numerous recognitions, including the L'Oréal UNESCO International Rising Talent Award in 2019, Quartz Africa Innovation Award the same year, the OWSD Early Career Fellowship, and the ECOWAS Research and Innovation Support Program grant. As a committed educator and mentor, she has supervised numerous PhD, MPhil, and Doctor of Pharmacy students. Beyond academia, she is a founder of Nexus Careers, an initiative supporting career development pathway for scientists across Africa. She also actively promotes science, communication, gender equity, and capacity building through programs such as the Ghana Neuroscience Brain Bee and the Ghana National Girls in ICT initiative, helping to shape the next generation of scientific leaders across the continent. We are so proud to have you, Dr. Priscilla. Thanks for joining us, and the screen is yours.
Thank you, Neza, for that introduction. Good afternoon or evening. It's 3 p.m. where I am. Assuming it's about 5 back in South Africa. So I'll take a minute to share my slide. I hope this is visible.
Affirmative, yes.
All right. So I was invited to speak on the topic, the art of building a career in neuroscience and how to be adaptable. So my presentation is about how one can stay grounded in your passion as a neuroscientist, but then flexible enough to be able to grow in unexpected situations. So let's start by defining what we mean by adaptability. So adaptability, we can define as the ability to adjust to change. It's not just about responding to the change, but it is more about evolving with intent and then learning and how to reorient your identity regarding that change. It's also a situation where you are ensuring that change is not happening to you, but rather you are happening to the change. So whether, for instance, there's a shift in your research focus or even a shift in your long-term goals or even the current role that you are playing. Adaptability is also your ability to adjust to new roles, new environments, or challenges, and to be able to make those adjustments with confidence as well as curiosity. So in a neuroscience career, for instance, it might mean when you are shifting from, say, academia to industry, or you are integrating things like policy and technology into the work that you do. And as Darwin said, we know this quote, this is not the strongest or most intelligent who survive, but those most responsive to change. And I think this is a quote that is relevant, not just in biology, but also when it comes to talking about careers. So why do we need adaptability in neuroscience? So neuroscience is a field that is fast changing. It's changing very, very, very fast. Nowadays, neuroscience, as we know it, intersects with other fields like artificial intelligence, education, mental health, policy, even law. And there's so much innovation that is happening that it's no longer realistic, or it's not even necessary for you to follow just one straight path. So you can, for instance, start off in a lab and then decide to move into, say, user experience design, or move from academia to science communication. And these shifts that you are making, personally, I do not consider them detours. I think they are actually part of the journey of having a career in neuroscience. If you look at the nature of careers now in general, you realize that most careers are becoming more like ecosystems. So careers are no longer linear. And you as an individual, you are just a node in the network of the entire ecosystem. So the ability for you to be able to navigate this network and then find your place within the network is what adaptability looks like in practice or in action. So let's take a minute, for instance, to acknowledge the traditional academic pathway. So many of us go and get a PhD, and then we start to imagine our career maybe starting off as a faculty position. So you want to do research, you want to teach, you want to mentor other people. Now, this is a pathway that is very, very rewarding because academia offers a lot of autonomy, it offers intellectual freedom, it also offers the ability to make impact. But the truth is that an academic career is not the only route you can have as a neuroscientist. Even now, academic careers are becoming even more competitive. They are so competitive that just about 15% of PhD holders end up getting tenured positions. So for me, I think it is very important for us to redefine what we consider success. And very importantly, that we do not see a career in academia as the only definition of success. The neuroscience training that we receive, for instance, I believe opens the door to a range of careers. So whether it's in technology or data science or communication, I think your training equips you to be able to pivot away from the basic science or just the lab-based research. And wherever you pivot to, I believe, is a valid and can be an impactful career. So for you, the question you should be asking yourself isn't what job am I trained for? It is more about where can I apply what I know and love. So I have some case studies of a few people who have started off in neuroscience and then have navigated into other careers. So Maria, for instance, got her PhD and then decided to fund a brain tech startup. And she went that route because she saw that commercialization is the fastest way for her to be able to get her work that she's doing into the hands of people. Eric, for instance, is a postdoc who decided to go into science and policy because he realized that his experiments mattered more when they are translated into policy. So he's gone into policy so that he can influence more. And there are so many cases of people who have gone through this route. And currently, people who have pivoted out of the lab, for instance, do not constitute the exceptions. They are now part of a growing wave, a large growing wave, and they are essentially becoming the norm. But how do we begin to make such shifts? So adaptability does not mean that you are drifting from where you started from. It means that you are being guided by your why you do what it is that you do, which is your scientific identity. So what is it that excites you? What are you curious about? What are you creative about? What type of impact do you want to make? What are you interested in? Are you interested in solving problems? What are the things that make you lose track of time when you are involved in? So knowing your why is important because knowing your why is like having a compass, having a career compass, and that is going to help you to navigate with purpose. Now, a career exploration starts with knowing your scientific identity. It has nothing to do with your job functions, knowing your scientific identity. So knowing what your purpose is in this world of science. And in order to find that, I just want to briefly speak to the Ikigai style of mapping. So Ikigai is a Japanese concept, which means a reason for being. And it is a quick way for you to be able to find what your purpose is. So in order to find your purpose, you need to recognize 4 things. What are you good at? What do you love? What does the world need? And then what can you be paid for? If you are able to find an intersection between what you are good at and what you love, then we say that you have found your purpose. If you are able to find an intersection between what you love and what the world needs, we say that you have found your mission. And when you find an intersection between what the world needs and what you can be paid for, we say you have found a vocation. And then when you find the intersection between what you can be paid for and what you're good at, then we say you found a profession. And then when you find the intersection between all 4, then we say that you found your Ikigai, which means that you have found your purpose. So we can, if we have never done the style of mapping, we can take a few minutes just to map this out and then see where the intersections lie for us. So adaptability, in order to be adaptable, you should be willing to be adaptable. But I also think that you should have the capability to be adaptable. And based on our training, I believe we all have the capability. So if you have published before, you have taught before, you have coded, you have communicated science, I think you already have very valuable skills and you have skills that are adaptable. And these are skills, I call them portable skills. You can take them with you wherever you go. But the key is for you to learn how to frame the skills you have and then apply them across different types of domains. But to be truly adaptable, I also think there are some core skills you need to think about or consider. So one, you should have narrative intelligence. So for instance, how good are you at telling the story of your research or even communicating your value in different contexts? If I take you out of the neuroscience context and put you in other contexts, are you able to explain your value within that context? Another is metacognition. How good are you at self-reflection, thinking about your growth, how far you have come? How good are you at, for instance, reframing failure? When you experience failure, how are you able to reframe it, readjust, and then keep going? I also think socio-political literacy is important. So science, as we know it, it doesn't happen in vacuum. It happens within systems. How well do you understand those systems? For instance, how well do you understand how science is funded? How well do you understand the politics? There's a lot of politics in science. How well do you understand the politics that happens and how to navigate it? So to be adaptable, it's very important that you need to evolve from just being a technician of the brain, to a systems thinker. You have to be aware of your immediate environment and what is going on around you. Because an adaptable scientist is one who is not just clever, brilliant, or a genius, but is one that is contextually intelligent. How do we embrace adaptability? So being adaptable means shifting your mindset. And it involves you viewing your career as a journey, not just a single track race with a final destination. You need to view it as a journey and then allow yourself to be driven by curiosity. Importantly, you have to learn how to take it a bit at a time. So teach yourself how to make very, very small pivots. So attend a workshop that's teaching you a different skill, join another project so that you can learn some interdisciplinary skills. Shadow somebody who is in a different role from what you are used to, because every role is a learning opportunity. And the more you explore, the clearer the direction you need to take becomes. In adaptability, I believe that it's a process. It's not a single jump and then you get there. So it's important that I always advise people that you think about your career or building your career the same way we think about research projects, the same way we think about experimental design. You don't have to wait for everything to be perfect before you make a move. You can always go ahead and then build a prototype. So you design the prototype, you test it, you analyze, and then you adapt. Build your prototype, run your pilots, gather the necessary feedback, and then you iterate. That is essentially how careers work. So my final words for you will be to always remember that neuroscience as a career is evolving. So you can also evolve. Passion will give you direction, but adaptability is what gives you movement. And in building a career, there's no single right way of doing it. Only your way counts. And your career is not a map, it's a living design. So stay open, stay curious, and then stay connected. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Priscilla, for this presentation. So I don't know if there is, I open the discussion to everybody. So if there is any questions or comments.
Sorry, Neza.
Yeah,
Hi. Thank
hi,
you so
Lily.
much. Hi. Thank you so much for standing in for me. While I try to pivot the journey of being a mom and a scientist in the afternoon. I don't know if I can just comment on the Professor Mante's presentation with your permission.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Mante, for gracing us with your presence and giving such a lovely presentation. I could just listen to you, the way you explain it. And I feel like this knowledge that you have, or this approach towards neuroscience that you are sharing with us, is extremely important in the current artificial intelligence age, where a lot of jobs are ceasing to exist, you know. And I think that you also just mentioned practical things, like shadowing someone, collaborating and connecting with other people who think differently from you. And I think that we are also in a stage where funding societies are no longer looking for somebody who's great on their own. You have to collaborate. You have to show that there's interdisciplinary and there's also international collaboration that you are doing and thinking with people who are thinking outside of your own knowledge or domain of focus. So thank you for that. I just wanted to ask a question as well, that with the younger generation coming up that we are supervising, I know that with us, maybe some of us, our plasticity is a little bit matured now to be starting extreme new things. But what would you suggest would be one of the basic things we could do for our students that we are supervising at the moment? I mean, this morning I was talking about one of my students who's brilliant, and I was saying, oh, she's an academic. But I'm thinking, as I'm just listening to you, I'm reminded that we also need to nurture these brains and give them wings to be able to become other things. What are some of the ways that us as supervisors we can use, or tools that we can use as supervisors to just push our students a little bit outside of what we know and what feels comfortable in preparation for the artificial intelligence age, where we know that a lot of jobs are going to cease?
All right. Thank you, Lily, for the question and for the comment.
I think Priscilla.
Yeah, we
No,
lost her.
am I back?
You're back. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi. I don't know what you heard. Yes, but I just started by saying thank you for the question and then the opportunity to also interact with your research group. Personally, I'll just speak to my approach to things. When I started off my science career, I quickly realized that not everybody wants to be in science. They may be great at it, but not everybody wants to be in science. And also the fact that you are good at something doesn't make it your purpose. And so I've always kept that at the back of my mind. So my approach to mentoring, for instance, is to create space for people. I never go into a mentoring relationship trying to build another neuroscientist, honestly. My approach is to create space for you so that you become the best version of yourself. So I always start by trying to understand what is important to you, not what is important to the science, but what is important to you. And then through that, I try to find opportunities that resonate with what is important to you. For instance, I've had students, they are doing neuroscience research, but you can see that they are also creatives. What makes them tick is the creative energy. So for instance, I have a neuroscience student who is also a rapper. He's a musician. Yes, and it is one of the things he finds joy doing. So I have worked at finding him opportunities to develop that talent. Because even though it looks like it's a detour from the neuroscience career, his creativity is geared towards communicating around mental health. So he makes songs around mental health. He writes articles around mental health. He engages with the public around, yes, mental health. And so you can just imagine how bored somebody like this would have been if I stuck him in the lab and said, you have to focus on the experiments and that is all you can do. Right. We wouldn't have found this great part of it. And that strength of his, honestly, has become useful to me in the long run. Because when I need to do outreaches, he's the first person that I reach out to. How can we design this outreach in such a way that we can reach to this audience, for instance? And he's a great communicator. So then together we figure it out, right? So I approach it from the point of creating space. What makes them tick? And how can we find an overlap between your love for science and the other things that you love? And ultimately, I think when you do that, when they feel supported, what it does is it builds confidence. Once people are confident, they are open to exploring whatever strengths that they have been blessed with. So for me, that is one way. And to build on this further, I am starting like a mentorship program where we are actually trying to use this whole artificial intelligence thing to be able to sort of design tests that help people to find their what should I say, perfect careers, right? And we are open to the fact that after we take people through those tests, they might not end up in science, they might end up in other things. But for me, I think it is okay because we as individuals, I think we are just giving gifts and we are expected to bring those gifts to bear just to contribute our part to mankind. Right. I don't know if I was blabbing a lot. I don't know if I've been
It's
able
perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's more than enough. I would love to hear more about the work you are doing, but that's probably a conversation for privacy. But thank you so much. It covers everything.
All right. I see there's a question in the Q&A from Richmond. How do you balance career with family as a young scientist? This is a very loaded question. I'm not sure anybody on the call, no matter how advanced they are, has been able to answer this question. In fact, as I grow older, I think balance is elusive. It's something that is very, very hard to achieve. So for me, I like to look at it as integration. So there are different parts of your life which together make the composite you. They make you who you are. So how best can you bring these parts together so that they complement each other? So I like to look at it more like an integration. But being a young scientist that has a family, especially when you have a very young family, comes with added pressure in adding to the pressure that you are getting from being in science. So I think very importantly, you need to understand your situation, your context, and then set realistic goals. You know, we all want to We all want to win the Nobel Prize. That's what that's. We all want to win the Nobel Prize. But you need to be realistic and then set realistic goals. Setting realistic goals does not mean that you are putting your dreams on the back burner, but within the time and the resources that I have available to me, what can I achieve? So you try and then set realistic goals. Another thing that you need to be able to navigate a career and family is you need support. So you need to find your community. Your community might be with your spouse, it may be with your extended family. For instance, I have a very supportive extended family. I have a very supportive mother who she's now in retirement and has essentially turned herself into a daycare. So you have people coming to drop their kids with her, and she'll take care of them. You can go and do whatever you need to do for as long as you need to do. Sometimes she allows the kids to sleep over at her place. You will not always be blessed with such support, but you need to look in your immediate environment and see where you can find that level of support. Sometimes it even involves creating that support. I have colleagues who have become heads of department and then have gone ahead to build nurseries in the department because they realized that they had kids and they had to bring their kids to work. They didn't have any other options. But then at work, they have to work. So they decided to take matters into their own hand and then be the change that they wanted to see. So they ended up building nurseries inside the department. So they found a room, stocked it with toys, beds, whatnot that you need to keep children comfortable. And after they did that, everybody came to see the essence of having something like that. So now everybody brings their kid to work and they realize that there's a nursery and they can leave the kids in the nursery. There's somebody caring for them whilst they go on to work. And very importantly, in staying sane, the last thing I'll say is you need to learn how to say no. I think as scientists, the way we are trained to say, yes, okay, I'll get it done. Once you become a scientist and you have a career, you need to learn how to say no. It's not everything that you accept to do because you are limited in terms of strength, capacity, time, resources. So you need to learn how to say no, especially decline things that do not align with your values. And yes, especially if they overcompromise family time. And I also think in terms of setting goals, you also need to set priorities. So your priorities cannot be the same at every time. There are times when you might need to prioritize work. There are times when you need to prioritize family. You need to learn when it's important. Your child is graduating. It is an important time to leave work and go for the graduation. Are we okay? It's not an opportunity you would have ever again. So you also need to know how to prioritize. I don't know, Richmond, if these are enough strategies to help you get on your way.
Can I add something here?
Sure.
Yeah, I just think that like confronting career with family life is not like fair. I think we should compare personal as a person, the well-being of the person as an individual with the family life. So you need to take all the aspects of your personality or personal life, like your career, professional development, your personal physical well-being, your psychological well-being. Because if you deal with depression or you deal with like a chronic disease, you can't perform neither in your career or your family life. So I think you need to balance your life as a person with your family obligations. I think this is more important to than just career with family life. Where are we inside this as a person who has their own need independently of their careers or life family?
Yes, yeah, I think I get where you're coming from. There's also the need to prioritize self, right? Yes, and ensure that you are healthy.
Yeah,
And
in different aspects, professional, but also personal, physical, and psychological. I think this is the
yeah,
most important.
yeah, yes. You can't function, as they say, you can't pour from an empty cup. So you always have to ensure that you are 100. Yes, I completely agree with that.
So, and I think the matter of balancing, it's not having always like half and half. Some periods you are more performant in your family life, and so you take like apart your career or yourself, and then one period and other periods you are more like performance in yourself than your family. So balancing, it's like at the end of the year of some period of time, you end up with a balance, with like a medium performance everywhere.
Yes, yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah. You cannot give your all to everything at the same time. Yes, you have to set priorities and what is important to you at this point, and then you deal with it.
Mm.
Yeah.
So we have another question in the chat. Thank you for this lovely and insightful presentation. How we can redirect or shift when we are already at a senior career stage? How do we decide to move to what we love at this stage?
As a senior, when you are at a senior stage, I know there can be a lot of considerations. So, maybe even salary wise, and your ability to survive after you make that pivot. But I think at the end of the day, you need to be clear in your mind about your why you believe that this change is good for you at this point. If you are not clear in your mind, then it can be very problematic, because understanding and accepting that this is your purpose is the only way that you can keep yourself grounded and then focused on what it is that you want to do. So you need to take your time to understand whether really this is for me, and it is not because you've seen a passing fad and you just latched onto it. I believe once you are able to identify your why and why this is important change for you at this point, then that is the first step to navigating or pivoting into whatever change or career that you'd like to have at this point. And once you make the decision to make this change, I think it's important that you find a proper support system for whichever industry you are moving into. You are not expected to do everything alone. I'm sure there are people who have had your similar type of experiences and have learned some lessons which they can give to you, and then you can take some learnings from to be able to guide your path. So knowing what the why, being clear and accepting of what your why is for doing what you're doing, and also finding necessary support to navigate at least first few years or months, depending on what it is that you're doing. that's what I'd say to that. Am I still here?
Yes, just so, yeah, thank you. I think also another important like thing to have is perseverance to keep on the path, to not like be discouraged by not reaching your goals quickly. I think it's also important characteristic.
Yes, yeah. Perseverance above all is key. Yes. Once you stick to it, you eventually make it.
I just want to ask a question, Professor Orish. Sorry, I'm thinking of Chila. Professor Manze, because now, just listening to what we are discussing, I'm thinking to myself, it'll be really nice that maybe next month, for the month of August, we just do something where we have maybe a panel of males and female neuroscientists who are actually going to dig deeper into balancing and like career balancing. That does it really work? And also maybe just speaking about things like this question of what do you do at a later stage of your career, where you are feeling unsatisfied, but you have a permanent position, you have children to feed and take to school, but you also have to think of yourself, because I think the last line you said, well, perseverance, it'll eventually work out. But what if it doesn't work out? We live in a life has a reality of it doesn't end like a movie. And I've seen so many senior people reaching the age of retirement very bitter, very bitter. And I think the bitterness came with the selflessness they they rendered, you know, being selfless and saying, okay, my children must grow, my husband must be this must be that. And then I think at the end of the day, there was a lot of self-neglect. And the self-neglect has led to somebody who is now unemployable, 65 years old, and they are unfulfilled and they are very unhappy. So I really, yeah, like just listening to this discussion, I feel like I'm not saying we shouldn't focus on science. Science is very important, but we also need to start focusing on the scientist. And I think it would be really lovely to take this kind of conversation further and speak about the threat of not being married and having children at the right time when you do have that, and also pivoting forward at a senior level of a career and things are not working out, or they are working out but you're not happy. So it's been such an enriching conversation. I really love your brain. I really love how you articulate things. And I think we need more people who think outside the box but yet relevant for the box. Yeah, so that last part where you said it will eventually work out, I think I came for that part, just to say maybe it won't. And what happens if it doesn't? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I think your idea for the conversation would be very interesting. Yes. I don't think we have enough of these conversations. Yes. So that's something I would be interested in being a part
Thank
of.
you. Then it means I'm adding it to the panel. Maybe next month around the same time. Let me know.
Okay. All right. And,
Yeah.
the questions you're asking, I think, are very, very important. They almost come off as taboo conversations that nobody wants to have. Yes. So I think it's interesting, yes, to other views, especially if we can find someone who has actually pivoted out of the neuroscience career to do other things.
Something else.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll find somebody like that and invite them.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll just have a panel of 4 and maybe just have like a 2-minute, 3-minute intro and then have a conversation, where we can really just speak about the reality of being an academic in the age of AI. Is it still possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me.
So we have more questions on the chat. So first one from Dr. Amadi. How was your career influenced by research mobility?
Okay, so I'd say that my career actually took off when I was able to move for the first time. So I did, as you read from my profile, I did my undergrad and my PhD in the same university, yes. And when I started my research career, academia, in the same university. So, when you start careers, nobody really tells you what to do with a research career. They just say, get a PhD and then get an academic job. And then you get the academic job and then you are there. You don't know what you're supposed to do with it. So you go to work, take instructions from your head of department. At the end of the month, you take your salary and then you rinse and you repeat. So for me, mobility, moving out of that environment, interacting with other people, I moved out because I had to do my postdoc at the University of Michigan. Yes. Then moving into that environment, that's when I got into contact with people who really understood what you can do with a research career. So everything I've been able to do with my career started from that point. They told me how to, for instance, how to build a research team, how to look for resources for your research work, how to make yourself relevant to society, even outside the lab. All of that came out of mobility, even how to navigate it as a woman, because my postdoc mentor, she's the first female mentor that I ever had in my career. And she's a neuroscientist doing similar work as I'm doing. And she has a fantastic career. So she had done it. She had a blueprint. And she essentially taught me most of the things that I know up to this day. So for me, being able to move was very important. And mobility, I also say, has added to my visibility, which I think has contributed to a lot of the opportunities that I've had up to this point. Just the fact that I'm a visible female scientist. Sometimes I have opportunities just gravitating towards me, right? Yeah. And that all came out of moving around. Prof, I hope that's a sufficient answer.
Yeah, thank you. We have another question from Gladys. So waiting for Dr. Amadi to comment or to confirm. How do we keep adapting when what we do in patient dwells in an environment which is fed by successive adversity, and also when we do not have questions to the why?
That's a very loaded question. So I'll just speak a little from my experience. In fact, very related to what Prof. Amadi asked about mobility. One of the reasons why I focused on mobility and moving out. Initially, I didn't have plans of doing a postdoc. I didn't really think it was necessary, but I came to that point because at a point I realized my environment just wasn't working for me. It wasn't providing what I needed to grow. And no matter what I did, it's like systems are fixed, people are set in their ways, and are not interested in change. So the reason why I actually started looking for a postdoc is I was looking for, I was looking for my community. I didn't think this was my community. So I started to look for my community because I didn't believe that this is all there was to science and to academia. So I started looking for my community. So I started looking for people who are doing other things, which interested me. And then I started to find my way into those spaces. And even though I stayed in the same environment to do the work that I do currently, which is the same environment that pushed me to look outward, I make it a point to leave that space very often. So I make it a point to leave that space very often and immerse myself in the spaces that nourish me. Because I have come to accept that you can't change everything. It's not everything that you can change. There are some things that will be like that till the end of time. And I quickly came to that acceptance. So I love my job. I love my students, the people I get to meet. But I also acknowledge that that environment does not always nourish me, doesn't provide the things I need to grow. So I always look for other spaces that I can immerse myself in that will help me to grow. I don't know if that works for you, Gladys.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Colleagues, I mean, I asked that question because looking at the Ikigai Professor Mante had provided and shared with us, and also I wanted to remind the audience too that part of some of the things we had tried to pursue, the agenda we've tried to put in place, has been centered around mobility, because if the Ikigai that you presented, there is no way you can be satisfied with your profession, with your mission, with your vocation and passion by limiting yourself to a place. I'm glad you shared. You might become frustrated, just looking at where you are. And so to put together what you love, what you're good at, what you need, and now what you're paid for or what you can be paid for, you just have to have a mobility agenda. And so I got Linglet's comment in terms of how do you help your postgraduate students. I always advise supervisors to say, and I ask a simple question: who do you know outside your university? If I ask you to give me a name outside your university in your country, another department in your country, then beyond your country, your region, and within the African continent and outside the African continent, that is very helpful. When you want to, especially in our space of neuroscience, because the truth of the matter, even now, if you take note, societies have been trying to create emphasis, training, mobility for early career, PhD students, and so on. Now it's even going down to undergraduate students interested in neuroscience. So the art of building your career, mobility is very, very important. And I think as a supervisor, one has to build that and open up the postgraduate student, open up the early career neuroscientist to mobility. So it is something we have to, intentionally see how to improve on the continent and help our colleagues, to see that there's a place for it. I'm glad, Professor Mante, you had to move, and came back. There is always a refreshing. And I'm glad where you are now. I'm very happy for you, having known you for some time, and And I'm sure a lot of people like you are on the continent and who needs to, follow similar routes that the trail you have blazed too. We need more of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you for the accolades. I'm very happy that you mentioned this mobility agenda, because now I want to pitch something to you. When I was speaking about my mentorship approach, I forgot to mention this. There's one thing. When I started mentoring, I actually started with undergrads, and what I aimed to do was to provide opportunities for them to experience science in a different place. So I started off with my postdoc mentor who's in the US, the University of Michigan, and then we designed this exchange program. So undergrads can spend their summer interning in her lab. They do science, but they also immerse in the culture. So when they come back, then we have a conversation about the experience. Did they love seeing science at that high level? Did they enjoy doing the science? Or did they just love the culture? And for me, that was one step in helping to establish whether they really wanted a career in science or they wanted other things. And since we developed that exchange program, I often are looking for other collaborators who are willing to host some of these students for a brief period, maybe 6 weeks, 2 months, so that they can do some science in an environment that is outside what they are used to. So, Prof. Amadi, if you are interested, I'll come back to you with a proposal.
Well, just to respond, yes, I'm open to that. I mean, I just had 5 students who were in Germany, undergraduate students interested, and 1 postgraduate, an MSc student in public health. But there were 4 undergraduate students who just came back from Germany, spending 2 weeks in an international program. So I hear you, and I think for me, I'm open to that. I'm driving that agenda, and it's something I want to see on the continental level. Even going from South Africa to Accra, going to Tunisia and Morocco, you understand, it changes a lot of things. And it deals with all the things you've listed in the Ikigai, going to Tunisia, going to Morocco, going to Egypt, going to Lagos, coming to South Africa, and we need to build this up in the neuroscience space. And I'm open to that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, I also think, Prof, I'm sorry to come in. I think, Prof, it also falls very well. It fits in very well with our Shona Centers of Excellence that we are launching soon, that we were working on with you and Professor Sadiq and Gladys. I think it's going to fall in very, very well to add a mobility and part of the capacity building stuff that we have written. So I really love it, and I hope that we can work with Priscilla closely without overburdening her, because I know she's very busy. But I think for us to remove this African brain drain, we need to start creating programs that sustain our own neuroscientists and give them the life they find internationally at home. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I don't know, Neza, should we close it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, then you can do our. No, I just want to thank. I mean, you will close for us, but I just personally want to thank Professor Priscilla for availing herself and just doing such a rich talk. I also like the fact that we were able to start early and have enough time for discussion, because these talks are not just to feed information, but they're also to discuss information. So I really particularly enjoyed today's webinar, because we had so much more time to just have very good discussion. So thank you, Priscilla. And I hope that Sona is going to get to the point where we have enough money to send a little thank you to our guests very soon. I'm hoping. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, thank you so much, Priscilla. Over to you, Neza, and thank you to you too, Neza, for standing in for me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I extend my thanks to Dr. Priscilla for this very, very interesting topic and discussion. And thank you, everybody, for attending.
All right. Thank you. It's been
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. All right.
Hi, everyone.
Yes,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.